Hello, friends. I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. Today, I am continuing on my Look Back series where I talk about games that came out 5, 10, and 15 plus years ago on the 5s and 10s, or well, not on the 5s and 10s, but on those same numbers. I've been doing these 3 videos every year. I think this is my third straight year of this, so we're almost to the point where we're going to start repeating in a couple of years. But in today's video, in case you didn't already notice, we're going to talk about games that came out 5 years ago in 2021. And 2021 I was deep into the hobby, and I started my channel in 2022, so I definitely was starting to think about, at least by the end of the year, putting together my own content. So I was definitely following a lot of content, trying to play a lot of new games. And so we're looking at pretty much my prime time of playing. But the other thing about 2021 was this was following a little pandemic time when solo games are really on the rise. And so that really appealed to me as someone who doesn't always have a group together but wants to play games. And this was the time period where solo games are really starting to be thought of as a necessity on gaming. So instead of games being made for 2 to 4 players, they're now being made for 1 to 4. So that really helped me get my hands on a lot more games a lot more easily. Enough said about 2021 from an overview. Let's go ahead and dig into some of my favorite games, some of the games I still want to get my hands on, and of course the expansions that fit those bills. And as always, we're going to start with my favorite games from 2021, including one of my all-time favorites. If you didn't watch my most recent top 10 games of all times, you should check that out. But you'll see that Ark Nova definitely fell into that somewhere on the line. In fact, it's been my #1 game in the past. Is it again this year? I don't know. Check out that video. But Ark Nova, I really enjoy, and it rose right at the Board Game Geek rankings too. I think it's still sitting in the top 5 all time of Board Game Geek's rankings as well. And Ark Nova is just the zoo tableau building, playing cards, playing, polyominoes kind of as you're building up a zoo and taking those power actions. I really enjoy Ark Nova. So one of my favorite games of all time. Definitely one of my favorite games from 2021. Another of my favorite games of all time and of 2021 is Final Girl. And this is a solo only horror movie game where you're going around as the final girl trying to beat whatever the big bad is. And they're about to release their 4th season of feature films. And each big box has 5 feature films in it. They're all interchangeable. Plus, there's some other side ones, such as the Krampus one. And you can mix and match. So every new feature film you add to your collection just exponentiates the different setups you can do, different Final Girls against different bosses in different locations because you can mix and match them. And I really enjoy it. I own the first 3. You can kind of see up there on my top shelf. I did not get into the 4th one for financial reasons, mostly at this point, but at some point I hope to get a handle of at least a couple of the feature films in there, like the Jurassic Park inspired one. I definitely want to get my hands on. But Final Girl, one of my favorite solo-only games. The big game from 2021 was Cascadia. I believe it won the Spiel des Jahres Game of the Year for the German Game Expo. Cascadia is one I enjoy playing at first and then kind of waned from. It's a fun game, it's a good game. I'll pick it up and play it again. In fact, I haven't played it in a while, so I think it is due. But this is a game where you're building up lands around the Cascadia, northwest part of America, and placing animals into those habitats. And you're going to score for habitat sizes and animal requirements based on the animal cards. This one comes with family friendly mode or the regular game mode as well, so you can play it with pretty much anyone, as easy or as complex you want to make it. It's a good, welcoming, fun game, Cascadia. Then the game behind me, Red Rising, came out in 2021, and this one is a bit polarizing. In fact, it's polarizing to me too. I really, really enjoy it as a solo tableau puzzle. As you're playing, you're going to lay down onto locations and send out your ships and things onto the locations, and then you're going to pull a card from the location and activate its potential abilities. And once you get certain points for the 3 different areas of advancement, basically the 3 tracks, the game will end, and you're going to score whatever is in your hand at that point plus your track scoring. So you're trying to manipulate your hand from your drafting off the board and then activate things as you're playing onto the board too. So it's just a great little puzzle game. I think it's based off of a different game that I haven't played, and right now I can't even think what it's called. So when I look it up, maybe I'll put a note about it somewhere up here. But I like Red Rising as a solo puzzle. I did not like playing it with other people because, again, every card has a unique thing that happens as you play it, or as it's in your hand, or if you hold it at the end of the game, it's got its own scoring objectives and it's got to match with other cards. So every time a new card gets put down or a card gets picked up, everybody's got to stop and figure out what's going on now on the board and read the new cards that come out. So it just really slows down the game in a group and isn't as fun to me. But solo, I sure do really like the solo puzzle. Another one of my favorite games is Boon Lake, and this game is a Alexander Pfister game about building up a town around Boon Lake, and you're using cards to activate actions on the action board, and the higher up that action is on the board, the more power you're going to get from it moving down the river to basically advance the game as everybody's moving their boats down the river and collecting those resources off the river, activating those cards, playing cards in your tableau for scoring or special powers or abilities as you go, and it's got that lead follow mechanism as well. So as you're picking your action, you're going to take that action, but then everybody can follow up with the secondary action behind whatever that action is too. So you want to be ready for not only your turn, but everybody's turn, so that way you can take advantage of the follow action as well. And I just really like Boon Lake. It's a lot of fun and a great little point scoring, action selection, resource management game. Another family-friendly type game. Actually, the next two are going to be kind of family-friendly, but the first one I want to talk about is called Canvas, and this is a little art building game. You're collecting bits of art to score points, and it's kind of a matter of how much time do you want to spend building up one piece of art versus how quickly you just want to try to get any art out there and just score from multitudes of art versus good art. So it's just a lot of fun, really easy. As you take your turn, you're just basically going to draft a card and then figure out what you're going to do with it. I haven't played this one. I don't own this one. My buddy owns it, but we had a lot of fun playing it. And then Seven Wonders Architects is the friendly version of Seven Wonders, a classic game. And I like Seven Wonders Architects, I think, more just because it's easier to teach, easier to table and understand. And it plays up to 7, but it's not a party game. And I always appreciate those. I'm not a big party game fan, but sometimes I do have 6 or 7 people wanting to play games. And of course, we could break off into tables of 3 and 4, but then I've got to kind of manage 2 games worth because not everybody knows all the games as it is. So I'd much rather just get something simple and easy, but still thinky to the table. And Seven Wonders Architects does that. The expansions from 2021 that I really enjoy is the Lost Ruins of Arnak Expeditions Leaders expansion. I really like Lost Ruins of Arnak, and the Expedition Leaders expansion just gives everybody those variable powers based on whichever leader they have. So it just tweaks that game slightly for each individual without changing it a whole lot because you're still playing the normal game. Everybody's just got their own special ability to go along with it. And then one of my all-time favorite expansions is Concordia Solitaria, because Concordia is also one of my all-time favorite games, and this one let me play it solo, and not only does it let me play it solo, it is an amazing solo game. These solo cards aren't just normal, like shuffle the deck and whatever happens on the next draw is what they do. No, you've got your hand of cards just like in Concordia. They've got the same actions you have in Concordia, but each one's got a counter action that the Automa will do as you play your action. So your action's dictating their action, and usually it's going to counter your action in some way, or probably going to be what you want to do next. Because if your actions take resources, your next turn is probably going to use those resources to play on the board. But the Automa at that point is instead going to play on the board first, and they might block what you just gathered those resources for. So it's just that great mind puzzle of not only playing your game, but puzzling out how am I going to best play it so I don't screw my next turn up with the potential Automa action. And I just really love that. I love being able to play one of my favorite games solo. So Concordia Solitaria is one of my all-time favorite expansions. And now looking at the games from 2021 that I still want to get my hands on, I'll start with Radlands. Radlands is a two-player game. Again, I don't play many two-player games. I've said this on numerous videos. But I still like the look of some of them. And this is one where you're kind of back and forthing, building up a little bit of dystopia, using resources to kind of fight against your opponent and take out their capabilities. I don't remember the exact rules anymore. It's been a while since I've looked into this game, but I know I've always been intrigued by it as you're basically taking turns warring against each other and trying to take out their three bases, I believe is the end game, while setting it's kind of a two-player tower defense against each other game. Meadow also came out in 2021, and much like Cascadia, it's one of those family-friendly, cutesy, animal-y land games, and I don't know much about it, but I know it gets talked up a ton. So I'd love to just play it and compare it to Cascadia and see which one better meets my wants and needs and likes, because I know people have talked them both up as similar-ish games. Cascadia did win the awards, but I know Meadow, I think, gets talked about still more than Cascadia these days, from what I can tell. So it's an interesting argument, and I'd love to kind of give them both a try. Another game from 2021 that I hear a lot about is Cubitos. I think this game is you're taking cubes and kind of building up your little area with the cubes. And again, it's another one I don't know much about other than something to do with cubes, because Cubitos and drafting them and placing them into your tableau and scoring points somehow from it. A lot of good things from Cubitos. Want to check it out. Another game that struck my fancy is The Adventures of Robin Hood. And this game is a cooperative game where there's like little doors on the board. And as you send your merry men out and Robin Hood out to do whatever the campaign is, it's got multiple stories, I think, in the big book. You're just going out doing that story, and as you discover things, different things are going to happen, so every game can play different because of those doors and the story and everything else. And the other cool thing about this game is it's got like the movement pieces, so you can move faster and further, and you're going to use more pieces, but I think then you get tired more quicker, or you can move smaller chunks more stealthily around the board as well. So just a unique game I really want to check out, Adventures of Robin Hood. And then, because everything I mentioned so far I think is more family friendly, lightweight, of course, Brian Boru is a game that came out in 2021 that is more my normal speed. Heavy Euro, I don't know much about it, but I know people talk it up with a lot of other great Euro style games. So, Brian Boru, I don't know much about it, but I want to check it out just because I heard so much about it. And my name's Brian. And then the last one I kind of want to talk about is one that I knew was a little bit hot for a little while and then kind of trailed off. But Maglev Metro is a game where you're kind of drafting, I think, tiles and placing them to build up subway lines and move passengers from point A to point B. And it's got this cool little 3D-ish board of clear metro lines that are going to place on top of each other. So you can build up different lines on the same line and move, passengers around the city to score points. I've been intrigued by this one from the start. I know there's expansion boards and maps and stuff out for it now too. Still haven't got my hands on it, and nobody was really talking about it since like 2021, 2022 either. So I think this is one that was kind of a flash in the pan, but it still interests me enough that I still would like to check it out at some point. And finally, the expansions from 2021 that intrigue me, beginning with Paladins of the West Kingdom, City of Crowns. I own this expansion. I own Paladins. I haven't played the one I own yet. I've played it on Tabletop Arena or Tabletopia or one of those online with a buddy. Without the expansions, I bought the base game based on that play, used copy with all the expansions in it, and it sits here behind me untouched. But I do want to get it out and play it, and of course, try it with City of Crowns. So nothing's stopping me but me. I have this expansion. I could definitely check it out. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about is the Teotihuacan expansion. I don't know anything about this one. I know I've played Teotihuacan solo a couple times, really enjoy it, really want to play it again. It's a game where you're kind of using your dice to move around the board. You got pieces on either side, and you're going around collecting things and then working to build up your little temple or other such things near the temple. And so I really enjoy the game. I'd be interested in just checking it out with some of the expansions. So that's why I added the expansion for Teotihuacan to this list. And that's this story for today, talking about my look back at 2021. The next time I do this will be in about 3 or 4 months, where we look at 2016. And that's basically when I started getting into the hobby. So that'll be interesting to look back at those games from 10 years ago. But that's some future video. And if you want to see any future video, make sure you subscribe. Thumbs up if you like this one. And comment below your favorite games from 2021 that I did or didn't talk about. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the things I overlooked in this video. And of course, I will see you in the next one.